Hello friends, welcome to English with Mr. Nambi. In this video we are going to learn about class 9th unit 3 drama Old Man River written by Dorothy Deming. The renowned playwright Dorothy Deming was an American playwright, nurse. She is a popular children's story writer. Let's focus on the introduction of this particular play Old Man River. It is an one act play. It has two scenes and it deals with the floods and fears of the characters during the time of flood, and it also explained about the role played by Red Cross during the flood. The characters are as follows. The first character is Emmy Marshall. Emmy Marshall is a 17 years old girl, and Betty Marshall is the second character, and she is the younger sister of Emmy Marshall. And the third character is Rosefield, 16 years old, and she is the neighbor for Emmy Marshall and Betty Marshall. And Sorrowfield is the fourth character. She is 9 years old and she is the sister of Rosefield. The fifth character is Jim Hall. He is 17 years old neighbor, and Mr. Peters is the next character, and he is the member of Red Cross Disaster Committee, and Penny Morse is the Red Cross nurse. The play takes place in March afternoon, and the setting of this play is Marshall's living room. Let's focus on Act 1, Scene 1, and the characters involved in this Scene 1 are Amy Marshall, Betty Marshall, Rosefield, and Jim Hall. Rose, Amy, and Betty are in Marshall's living room. There was a heavy rain outside the house. Emmy and Rose were chatting, and at the same time, Betty is looking into the pictures. Rose suggested that during the rainy days, it is getting dark too early. Emmy went to took the light. Rose informed Emmy that the backyard is looking like a small lake because of the heavy rain. Emmy suggested that this is the first time they are experiencing the rain for 3 days continuously. On radio, they have announced that there was a flood in the river and the water rises above the Thompson Bridge, which is the tallest bridge in the city. The snow in the northern part started to melt and the place was filled with water everywhere. The highways, the meadows were flooded. Rose suggested to Emmy and Betty that they won't have flood there. Jim Hall enters and joins along with them. And as the time passed, the river water started to rise, and Burnett Dam gave 1 hour gap so that the people from that place started to migrate by using the gap. Jim Hall enquired Emmy's mom and dad, and Emmy replied that mom went to meet the dentist and dad went Chicago for a business. And then the telephone rang. Emmy's mom is speaking through the telephone and she informed Emmy that Jim will take care of them. And she also insisted to Emmy that to inform to Rose's parents that Rose will stay in her house as there is flood everywhere. Rose was extremely happy after hearing that. Emmy collected the water in bowls, tubs, pails, and pitchers, and then Jim went to took the lantern, and Betty went to took the flashlight and candles. Due to the heavy rain, the telephone connection was cut. Jim organized all the three, Emmy, Betty, and Rose, and Jim instructed them that if the dam broke, it will be flood in her house because it is in the direct line of the river and there is no way to escape from that. And the water around the garage seems to be a pool in the garden, and Jim told this action as the old man river. The water from the river will creep like a old man, and so the story was named as Old Man River. Jim recalled the past school fair and how he has served as a junior Red Cross during that time. As the water level rises, they decided to move to the attic of the house, which is the roof of the house, and Jim started to give a signal from the roof for help, and Jim looked forward for food. Suddenly, they heard a voice from Sarah, who is in the playhouse porch high ground, and Jim immediately jumped into the river water and rescued Sarah from the water. Emmy gave Dad's clothes for Jim, and for Sarah, she gave Dick's clothes. And Emmy made a hot cocoa and a supper. And she used to cook with oil stove because there is no firewood to cook. As the river raised another feet, they were terrified and they were feared. And Jim flashes the light from the top of the roof for help. Through this, Act 1, Scene 1 came to an end, and Act 1, Scene 2 begins in the living room. Sarah is sleeping, and Emmy and Rose and Betty they have their candles, and Betty is trying to read the books, but she cannot read the books as it is dark, and Emmy suggested her to go for bed as it is 11. And Rose heard a noise, and someone has seen them, and Jim told that rain has stopped. As the rain stopped, Jim moves all the things to the attic, and he brings food, water, and ladder to come down from the attic. And he took Sarah to the attic. Emmy took Dad's valuable books, Mom's jewel case, and but Jim instructed her to take only the food, not the valuable jewels and the books. Mr. Peter, who is from the Red Cross Disaster Committee, calls Mr. Marshall, Mr. Marshall, and the people who are inside the house were very happy to hear the sound. At first, Mr. Peter introduced himself as that he belongs to the Red Cross, and he enters into the room through the back porch, and Sarah falls from the ladder while getting down from the attic. Miss Marsh, the nurse from Red Cross, treats Sarah, and she instructs her to get into the boat. And Sarah's right leg was broken now as she is fallen from the attic, and they took Betty Rose along with her, but not Jim and Emmy, as they were elder. Mr. Peter gave a lantern and a coffee for Jim and Emmy, and he left them alone at the home. And he instructed that he will bring one more boat to get them away from the house. Emmy thanked Mr. Peter for the help, and Mr. Peter told, "Don't thank me, just thank the Red Cross, which had made such an arrangement to help the people during the disaster." And they departed, and Jim was happy as the town has well equipped disaster committee. And finally, Emmy thanked God and for the nurse for her rescue. Through this, scene 2 came to an end. Thus, the drama came to an end. Thank you so much, friends, for watching.